Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about the empty Wall Street offices that are going to be revived as apartments. 55 Broad Street in New York Financial District will be turning into 571 apartments. Great. Yay. One of the large office conversions to be launched during the pandemic. Let's read about it.
A venture of two New York developers has purchased a one-third empty office building in the city financial district with plans to convert it into apartments, one of the largest such conversion schemes to be launched during the pandemic. The venture, which included Silver Stain Properties and Metro Loaf, has agreed to pay $180 million for the 30-story building that opened in 1967 and has housed numerous technology and financial service tenants over the decades. The new owners plan to convert it into 571 market-rate apartments, ranging from studios to 3 bedrooms during the next 3 to 4 years. This is the right evolution of these struggling, underperforming older office assets that are approaching their obsolescence.
571 new apartments building is being created. I think that's good, especially in New York.
The deal comes as a remote working trend that became popular during the pandemic is sending vacancies soaring in office markets throughout the country. Business adopting hybrid workplace strategies are leasing less space and migrating to newer buildings with modern design, good locations, and abundant amenities. In 2020 and 2021, office conversions created a total of more than 13,000 apartments nationwide, especially in cities like Arlington, Virginia, Washington, and Chicago, according to a report. In many cities, elected officials and landlords are considering the possibility of converting aging commercial buildings into residential space to help return vibrancy to office districts and ease housing shortage.
That's really good. I think this is really good ideas, changing office spaces, especially the old office buildings. They need remodeling because who wants to work in an old, crappy, 1980s building looking like ugly place when I could be in the fancy 2020 building, oh my god, they make beer through the walls or through the ceilings, versus I'm in this my own cubicle and I'm a lonely human being and I feel like I'm about to kill someone because there's no one that I could talk to and that it's boring AF.
But these projects come with financial, political, and structural challenges. For starters, many office buildings, especially those built in the past 50 years, tend to have large floors that don't work well for living space, really. Zoning restrictions in many cities increase conversion costs by requiring windows, yards, and other residential needs. Office pricing would have to drop 25% to 50% lower than it is today for conversion wave to have more than a marginal impact on housing production and commercial property use. Office to residential conversions will not be something that will A, solve our housing crisis, or B, such a dramatic trend that it will significantly change our city.
Then why are they converting? If it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing, because that's what I'm thinking it was supposed to do. Hey, these offices, they're old, no one's going to use them, it's ugly, it's kind of wasted space. We'll create them into a new housing area. Then it should solve it. I wonder why he's saying this.
The developers purchasing 55 Broad feel that the building is designed in such a way that residential conversion is financially viable. If necessary, developers can draw on tricks of the trade, like carving out a courtyard or installing a light shaft in the interior space. There are very few obstacles we can't overcome. Mr. Berman estimated that converting 55 Broad will cost about one-third less than what it would cost to build a new apartment building on the site. Conversion also is more environmentally friendly than building new because it reuses steel and other materials that are part of the existing structures. Oh, really?
What if the building is too old that it's kind of close on falling, though? I feel like that's what I would be worried about. If they're 50-year-old, how do I trust that it's the construction that was done to the building is... I mean, I guess if it's already lived through 50 years, why can't it live for 50 more years?
But the 55 Broad project isn't replicable everywhere. New York zoning law is more lenient when it comes to downtown buildings built before 1977 than in other parts of the city. The misconception is that any obsolete office buildings can automatically turn into multifamily apartments.
Oh, so you can't do that. But not all buildings are created the same. So only certain type of building is possible.
Recently, both city and statewide policymakers have considered legal changes to make residential conversions easier throughout New York. Governor Kathy Hochul I'm probably saying that wrong. But Governor Kathy proposed zoning changes this year that weren't approved by the legislature. Cities and state officials are continuing to explore the issue. New York City is in the housing crisis and is in dire need for affordable housing. So the city and state should be looking at every option to make it happen. The venture of Silverstein and Metro Loaf purchased 55 Broad from Rudin Management. Okay.
My understanding of this article, I'm guessing it's a great idea, but it's unfortunate to see that only a certain type of building can be reworked or revived as an apartment. Because I honestly think it would solve a lot of issues of house shortage, especially in New York, and hopefully the living cost there would be decreasing. But I wish there were ways that they can figure out how to create into apartments, even if this isn't built into an apartment. That's actually questionable, guys. Why wouldn't this house or this office building not work for apartments? Like, what are maybe the designer background that we're missing out on, saying, hey, I don't know, maybe this place isn't really a good apartment area. So that would be a couple of questions I have. Other questions related to this, I know they talked about other cities, big cities like Chicago, Washington, or other big places. How are they doing, and what are they doing to solve this issue? So a couple of things you guys are thinking is noise from the street. But honestly, it's New York. Where is there noise? Where isn't there noise? Fire safety. Oh, I guess it makes sense for fire safety. Ooh. So yeah, windows. Yeah, I guess you would need windows. Can't you just break through and create windows? Oh, I guess I understand why it's really bad. Wow, then what can they use that space for? Maybe it's better to then recreate that space. Or if there's a easier way to solve these issues of all these solutions out there, that would be the best. I wish there would be a good choice on how to solve this type of issues going on. How is the structure integrity of the building? What do you mean? That's what happens. They usually tear down the whole commercial building and start from scratch. But that costs a lot. I like the idea of redesigning the office space and cutting down little as possible. Because then what can be created in a couple of months, if you were to rebuild it, will be a couple of years. So in conclusion, guys, hopefully other cities that's having housing issues of really high cost housing can adopt to this idea, and that hopefully there might be different solutions to the plumbing or fire safety or windows issues out there that can't be solved. That would be the ideal thing, other than tearing down the whole building. So I really like this idea. I'm happy that they're trying to figure out different ways for big cities to get more housing, and that this can be in a trend. I know the analysts were like, hey, this isn't really going to solve the housing issues, or that it's not going to be any type of trend, but I honestly think it's a good way to reuse anything, and reusing office building is probably the number one thing that they need to do in New York, especially after the pandemic. Are people going to still wanting to go back to work job locations? Probably not. So that's all for this news. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave comments below. Other than that, that's all for this one. Don't leave, guys.